Hey, welcome everyone. Forrest here, and I want to introduce you to my new podcast called the Privacy and Freedom Podcast. This podcast is something I've been wanting to do for a few years, and all my friends are like, no, you can't do that, but I'm going to do it anyway. And the reason they were saying no, because a lot of people like to stick with a niche, if it's preparedness, if it's crypto, if it's, spiritual or whatever, you kind of go in one direction. I'm going to do it all in one podcast. I hope you guys enjoy it. So let me tell you how the podcast and what it's going to be about, how we're going to do it. So I'm going to be doing one live video recording every week. I'm going to take your comments, your questions. We're going to discuss everything you want to discuss. I'll have topics. Sometimes I'll have interviews. I'll have guests. And what's the topic going to be? It's going to be privacy and security. You guys know I'm very passionate about privacy and security. It's going to be about crypto and investing, not just crypto, not just investing, but how to put together your maybe your family trust, how to do your investments, some investments you should look at doing, how to do some of your retirement. Am I a financial planner? No, which makes me great and qualified to do this because I know stuff. Then we're going to also talk about preparedness, how to prepare your family, put a communications plan together, what you should do as a family together to get ready for uncertain times. If it's a disaster or health issues, what things you can take now to help your family get through that in a smooth way. And then I'm going to bring my faith, which is the most important thing to me is my faith. And I'm going to put it in all these aspects. So when we talk about investing, I'll talk about some of the things the Bible says about investing. When I talk about preparedness, I'll definitely talk about what the Bible says about that. And then my faith will come out in everything. I'm not going to apologize for that. That's who I am. And I hope it can be an encouragement to you. My goal is to make you a better person, to help you become a better person, not make you. But I'm also going to talk about like entrepreneurship and businesses to start. If you got questions about some businesses or you want to create some side hustle or side money, if you want to write books, if you other things to create wealth and money, generate income, kind of get out of the system. Oh, also pay less taxes. So if you think about it, everything that I'm putting my heart in can help someone kind of get out of the system, you know, not let corporations just spam you. Everyone, your information is all over the internet. Make extra money, make wise investments, and get ready, get your soul ready as well. That's what this whole podcast is going to be about. It's called the privacy and freedom, like true freedom. And I hope you'll join me with this. So again, once a week, we're going to do a live recording. And then I'll publish that not only in the video format, but I'll publish it on podcast. So if you have a podcast app, it will absolutely show up there. And if you want to watch it on the video, which I'm not sure why you do that, but anyway, it will be on YouTube. And probably TikTok and Instagram, wherever the video places go. We'll let my people take care of that. My people will be my friend Travis. We'll also during the week, which I'm totally terrified to do this, but I'm committed to do this. During the week, I will make like a short video, maybe with a selfie stick. Ooh, gosh, I've always dreaded doing something like this, where I'll maybe will talk about hacks or things going on in the privacy world. I may talk about the markets and what just happened with Bitcoin or XRP or what's going on with the crypto world. Maybe about a trust. Maybe it'd be a scripture verse or something I wanted to share or a story. And they will be on reels, meaning they won't make it to the podcast. So if you just do the podcast, that's fine. But the reels, the short videos, which I dread, I don't think I'm very good at it. And so I'm going to try it. I'm committed to try this and make that work. I'm terrified of like doing that and people watching me out in public or something. I may go into like a closet and do it there. I'll get over it. I'm gonna just stress myself. And you guys join me. You can watch. If I'm not getting better, just saying, "Hey, dude, give it up." But if I'm getting better, if you're getting good information out of it, let me know. I would like to build this community so we can grow together. In this, also, what motivation do I have? I have lots of motivation. One thing is, I feel like I need to share some of my knowledge and talent with other people and help people and encourage people. People need to be encouraged. They need just to push sometimes to take the extra step. I'm also writing a book that's going to be amazing. This book literally started in 1993, and I'll tell you the story about all this. But it started, and since 1993, I'm like, I need to do a book on this. I need to write a book, and so now, as I'm putting the book together, some of the things we discuss on the podcast and your questions will maybe kind of steer and guide me as I put this book together. Very early stages, like I'm putting the chapters together now, and so, but yeah, this is going to be fun. It's going to be my heart, my knowledge, my experience coming out and sharing with you guys. And you're like, well, who are you? Well, I got a friend. His name's Travis. He's been my podcast host for another podcast I do, and he and I got on the video, and he interviewed me, and he interviewed me like he was one of you. Like, here's the questions I would ask Forrest, and he asked them. So it's like you asking me questions, and I share way more information than I probably have ever shared. And you're going to find out things about me, and you're going to go, "Oh my gosh." I know, I'm even surprised. So, but so the the first podcast and video I'm releasing, it will be Travis sitting down and interviewing me for about 35 minutes. Then the second podcast will be Travis' second half interviewing me. And it's even better. I mean, they're both great. And me just answering truthfully to his questions. And so that's two podcasts. First podcast is first half the video, second podcast, second half the video. The third podcast I'm releasing is we had a lot of fun with some AI. And so the team wanted to kind of create a jingle or a song. So we used some software to create this song. And you'll hear the little bit of it as the podcast starts. But we wanted to share the whole song because it's pretty cool, and it will give you and your family maybe something to do. So watch that. I tell you the software we use, and it's pretty cool, and you'll be amazed at what the software can do. That will be the third podcast. And again, so the videos will always be on YouTube. The audios from the big night of recording will always be in the podcast format. So I hope you will step in the car and take this ride, this journey with me. If you're interested in privacy, security, crypto, or investing, protecting your family's, financial, I am not selling financial products. I am not a financial advisor or planner. So I can tell you stuff and say, "Hey, I'm not an expert." But you probably would rather just research it than pay an expert. Probably a lot of things I'll say. And then we'll talk definitely about starting a home-based business. If you want to buy a business, maybe a franchise that you've been looking at or thinking about, or how to make some extra income. If it's writing books, doing blogs, whatever you want, I am here to help you and encourage you. And then it all comes from a heart. It will come from a biblically based background. And I hope this will uh, be right for you. I hope you'll share it. I hope you subscribe. You'll be a part of the community as we grow together. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Something I've been wanting to do. So join me on this ride. It's going to be fun. I'm challenging myself with the videos, with the selfie. I can't imagine myself with a selfie stick, but anyway, I got one. I've never done it yet. but we'll see how it goes. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this. First interview is about 35 minutes, I believe. It's Travis interviewing me, asking questions that he thinks that my audience that is not here yet would want to know from me. And he pulled out information that I really haven't told anyone. So hope you enjoy this and God bless. And please, let's take this ride together. You guys take care. Love you guys. Bye.
Hey, Forrest, thanks so much for this opportunity to be able to interview you. We've known each other for quite a while. Ever since I moved to the Charlotte area, we met, hung out, and been a great friend. And I even helped co-host with you for a while with the Prepping Academy podcast. And many people may know me as right now. You probably see my name there, Travis Curran. So that's who I am for those who are tuning in to this podcast. But um, on that show, no one knew who I was because we did not record video, and so we went by the code name or whatever, Tenderfoot. And so I am Tenderfoot. For those who did not see the reveal during the pandemic
You
time,
came out of the closet.
that's it. And it's a long story of how that name came about with Tenderfoot, but it actually worked, and so that's what a lot of people know me as. When we go to different places and you introduce me, everybody's like, "Oh, this is Tenderfoot." So
Mhm.
yeah. So, but
It
it's
kind of
been
makes me mad when it's my. I started a podcast and I would go place and they go, "Hey, where's Tenderfoot?" And I'm like, "I'm right here." It's like they didn't care. But if you haven't heard any of the podcasts, you can go back to Prepping Academy
yeah,
and listen to them. And what it is me talking and ranting and then making fun of Travis a little bit.
yeah.
And we laugh a lot.
That's it. That's it. And I think that's what makes, our friendship so good. It doesn't bother me at all. We actually poke fun of each other.
Mhm.
And it's just a good friendship. And being veterans,
Mhm.
I've got a series of questions I want to ask you. But I'm gonna go ahead and talk about that. So I'm a Navy vet. So I was a hospital corpsman in the Navy, served with both the Air Wing and also with the Marine Corps.
Mhm.
But let's go there, and then I'll kind of go back and ask some of my other questions about just some personal questions, if you don't mind.
Yes.
But go ahead and start with your military.
Well,
Tell
first
me a
of
little
all,
bit.
I've never made fun of you being a Marine. I mean, a Navy corpsman, of
Yeah.
course, you can imagine. But we go back and forth. But I was United States Air Force. Joined. I went to college for a couple years. Played sports in college there, and it was a 2 year school. So after 2 years, I didn't know what I was going to do. And Chapel Hill, University of Chapel Hill, didn't call me to play basketball. I was totally disappointed. Thought for sure I'd get a full ride there after 2 years at a junior college, but didn't. And I joined the United States Air Force. And I was doing avionics and radar, and then I was pulled into a SOL 2 unit, which is a special operations low level. That's SOL, SOLL, and two is at night. So it was and I was in JSOX. I did that for 4 years, and I always tell people that I got more out of the military than the military got out of me, because
Mhm.
we did the last campaign I did right before I got out of the military was a campaign called Just Cause. And Just Cause is when we went down to Panama and Noriega, and we did some funky things down there. And, some of the things we actually did down there, I don't want to talk about it too much, but it made the movie because the Navy SEALs were getting just creamed on the airport there in Panama. And we came in and helped bring some support and to relieve them. But man, I think if I remember right, like 14 Navy SEALs got killed there. It was a bad day. But that was my military again. I was just enlisted. I made the best of it, and I loved it. So
Yeah.
would serve again because it was just
Yeah.
it was back then, I mean, I guess Ronald Reagan was just, I mean, it was in the 80s. So I mean, my kids say, "You mean the 1900s?" Yeah, I'm like, yeah. But I mean, there was a lot of pride for America at the time, and I was, I thought I was doing my duty for America.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and thank you for your service. And even as a veteran, I still thank other veterans for their service because
Hmm.
we kind of build off each other, and it's great that we that's a part of our friendship and camaraderie that we have is the service that we have for our country. And people that are veterans get it. We poke fun at each other's service and
Yep.
stuff like that. But we're very thankful and we all work together. So
And we have a great time on Veterans Day because we usually spend all day together
yes,
going
we do.
around. And I didn't used to do this I mean, for
Mhm.
20 years, I didn't do this, but we go to around, we'll eat, we'll get the free steak coupon
Yeah,
at Texas Roadhouse. We'll go make sure I go by Great Clips. I'm not sure if you go by Great Clips.
you know, thanks to the Navy, I lost all that.
We went to, did we go to Andy's and get custard? I mean, we go around
Yeah,
and get some freebies and just hang out with each other pretty much, at least half the day.
yeah.
So,
And I think it's good for people to hear that because for people that do that for veterans, that gives us an opportunity to do what we do,
hmm
to spend time, and we do. I think we talk
hmm
about that, and we see other veterans out there.
yep,
We
we
get to
do.
talk to them and stuff, so it's really great. It's a great time.
But we
So,
plan it. We try to plan it
yeah,
like weeks in advance. We share all the sheets and and then when it comes to the day, we actually our plans to go by like 10 places and we end up going by like three and going, okay, see you next
yeah,
time.
yeah. I'm done. Yeah, but it's a good time. So with this interview. I want to dig deep. So that's probably a lot of stuff that people don't know about you, your service to our country, what you did, and you can talk more about it through some of these questions. I'm sure it'll pop up. But you were already talking about where you grew up and you went to
Mhm.
college. So tell me a little bit about that, where you grew up and where you went to college. What led
Mhm.
you before you went into the military.
Okay, well, the town I'm from is very famous now, and three reasons. One is it was on every TV station when the flooding happened in Western North Carolina. I'm from a town called Spruce Pine. It was on every news channel. I mean, it flooded downtown. Good place to grow up, and I was big time school sports in this small county. I literally thought I was somebody special. I wasn't. But I went to college and played sports. But I also grew up in a family-owned business where my father and my even my grandfather were part of a hardware store called True Value Hardware. So I grew up. We did selling hardware. We did painting. Repair lawnmowers. We did everything a small town lumberyard kind of thing would do. And I grew up in that environment. And even while I was growing up, a couple of things that we did were just cutting edge. Was we built stand-up tanning beds. I guess a stand-up tanning rooms. You go in a room, put your glasses on, and turn around and stuff. And we had the lights. We would build that for people for like salons and stuff. That was a business. And then I remember my dad and myself. We took classes, and I'm still in high school at the local technical school there, and how to program like basic language on a TRS-80 Model 3. And we wrote software that could handle small businesses like inventory system or their accounts receivable or account payable, and we programmed all that in like basic. So we sold the computers for like 4 grand. Then the software we installed that. So I've been in an entrepreneurial kind of family pretty much all my life. So,
Mhm.
but went to a small Christian school in the mountains of North Carolina. It was called at the time it was called Montreat Anderson. Now it's just called Montreat. it was a 2-year school when I went there, and I thought for sure Dean Smith from the Tar Heels was going to call me to play basketball, and it didn't happen. um, but now it's a 4-year school called Montreat, and they're big on cybersecurity now,
Yeah.
so it's good. They've done well.
Well, a lot of this is going to intersect with other questions I have and with
Hmm.
what you're doing, what you're talking about. So this is really good to kind of pull this together. I'll try to remember to reference some of these things or whatever. But even with you saying that about the sports, because I know, because we've known each other for a while now, I know about your sports background. So
Hmm.
you did go to college. You didn't get called by UNC to do basketball, but tell us about because you did
Yeah,
sports professionally, and a lot of people don't know that about you.
I did, and it's something, you know. I'm on the podcast a lot. I do a lot of videos, and I just don't tell people. I mean, because I get sometimes I just get. I mean, when you do a podcast or you're doing teaching, a lot of times a lot of what you do what you do, what you believe comes out, and at some point you're like, oh, I just don't want to. It sounds like a brag session, or this is what I've studied and learned. But yeah, I haven't told a lot of people, but um, w- yeah. So in 1990 to 1994, I played on the AVP tour, professional beach volleyball, and had a partner, and I did that for 4.5 years, and don't talk about a lot. And great. I mean, there used to be a channel in the South called Sports South, and they would sometimes televise the tournaments. And it was like a camera and people talking, and the camera didn't move, and it was just in the early days, but
Yeah.
not a lot of records of me and photos of me playing, which is awesome. Because I wouldn't say, I'll tell you this. Beach volleyball from the early 90s to beach volleyball today is um, is the difference between an high school player and a college player. It's so much more powerful, stronger. People are taller. It's a different game. So I
Yeah.
got lucky.
Yeah.
My partner was 6'7", which helped out, and he could jump through the gym, man. He could jump crazy. And I was a more of a finesse player, and really enjoyed that time. And maybe later on we'll get into it, but literally, I believe God asked me to step away because I was making, at that time, I was getting too wrapped up in the sport, and I had to
Yeah.
refocus. So
Yeah.
that's the reason I left.
Yeah. Well, that is one of the things I'm going to ask you about is how God has led you and stuff. And that plays an important piece in that area at that time. But you were talking about college.
Mhm.
You've got your podcast, you got your YouTube channel, all the many things that you've done, and that's something that I've noticed is that you're always, though you're a teacher, you're always a student,
Mhm.
and you love studying subjects. So tell us about some of the subjects that you have studied.
Mhm.
Whatever it may be, whether whether it's from college that are specific to the things you're doing right now. Just tell us about that.
I've got a problem, and this is it. I'm telling you, what you're asking right now is my problem. I remember I sold a company in 2004, and I wanted to learn everything I could about the market. And so I studied the market. I wasn't trading the market. I was studying the market. I was studying how it worked. I studied the charts. I studied the logic. I even went to to Wall Street to meet market makers, to meet fund managers, to figure out how to make money in the market. I just didn't want to go in there and lose it. And I literally spent 4 years of my life studying the market until I figured I got it. And people go, "What do you mean you got it?" And I said, "Well, what I figured, and this is me, don't relate this to you. I did not want to do chart trading. I wanted to make trades, and this sounds so weird, but I'm telling you, it's so truthful. I wanted to make trades that always worked. And I did that. And I studied the market and I found trades that always worked. And that's the trades I made. Because I could not trade. If I'm sitting at a chart waiting for it to go up or down, man, my heart was pounding and I just couldn't handle that. So I found 56 trades in the market that I would make, and the accuracy is like a 97% that they would work. And people all the time have like, that's just can't be possible. And I'm like, no, it is possible. And I always give everybody one example and I share it. And then they go look it up and they go, oh, I see. So here's the example I always give. And around October, I buy usually, I'm not saying this still works, you do your own research. I usually buy UPS calls options for the end of December. And I would sit on that. And as the October, then November, everyone sees the UPS trucks. People were, going, wow. And it's on TV. UPS just hired 20,000 people for the Christmas season, and they're delivering packages 11:30 at night. And people are going, oh my gosh, UPS must be making money. And if you look for 30 some years or more, UPS from October goes up and up and up and up into December. And I get out like the second week in December because I don't want to, I'm not going to try to time the top, and I get out. I make money on that trade every year. And it
Wow.
just works and it makes sense. And if you just pull out a chart and look at the years past, you're going, oh my gosh, it's here and it goes to here. It's here, it goes to here. I'm not saying every year I make a ton of money, but on a call option or an option, you make a lot more money than you would the actual stock. Um, so, so that's the kind of trades I found. The 56 trades have come down to in the 41 trades that I make because some of them don't work 100% now. And if they don't work anymore, I just don't make the trade anymore. So, but I've studied stock markets. Um, and I studied preparedness. I mean, after Y2K, at the time I was the webmaster at Bank of America, and Y2K happened, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what would have happened if we didn't spend, $10 trillion dollars and the world was behind this? What would have happened? And so I studied preparedness. And so again, I go all out, that's my problem. I became a NRA instructor, a ham radio instructor for general class, a survival instructor, a Krav Maga instructor, and I just get so overwhelmed. My wife probably hates me. Shh. But but I get so overwhelmed and learn everything I can, and then I'm like, wow, I have this knowledge, at least some. I should teach other people. And so I've done that with, I mean, I've done, but anyway, but yes, I do study a lot of different things. Is there a particular subject that I'm leaving out that you were trying to hit on? Oh, privacy and security. Oh my gosh. I know you're
Yeah.
going to ask about that, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I've studied that under the best teacher, probably the highest profile teacher ever when it comes to the privacy and security thing for 7, 8 years now. So, but I'm sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
no, I think that's great. Because that's exactly, it was just kind of a general blanket
Mhm.
question is to kind of get that out. Like,
Little
so
OCD.
yeah. And and then, well, you're talking about that you studied the market and you talked about you kind of hinted at some of the business stuff that you created. I mean, you
Hmm.
grew up in that.
Hmm.
You talked about that earlier.
Yep.
You grew up in an entrepreneurial type home setting. Even you talked about the software and some other stuff. So tell us about that. What are some
Okay.
businesses that you use
Okay.
that in that you've created and that you've purchased and so
Okay.
forth?
So I went when I left Bank of America, I wrote a business plan, and that was the reason I was leaving, and it was to build internet data centers. That company, you can look, I mean, I don't even know if it's out there anymore. It's called Broadband Avenue. And I had 39 sheets of paper that I wrote text and put numbers on, and I stapled it together. and I raised $4.8 million to create that company. And we created internet data center here in Charlotte. We were starting on two other cities, and kept raising money, and then a company came and offered to buy us, and we're like, yeah. So I had some very high profile people that stood behind me in that, and we were very successful. We sold that company to a company that I actually IBM owned, and we built internet data centers. That was called, yeah, Broadband Avenue. And then from there, once I sold, that's when I studied the market. But I've also taken companies. I took created a company called Solar Shore One, and I actually took it public on Wall Street and sold, and then sold the company. So I created the company, raised capital for it. We were implementing the business plan. We went public, um, and then another company purchased our company, and so that went very well. I've actually even had home-based businesses I've done with my kids. So here's one. I'm going to tell you one right now that I created with my kids because I wanted them to be experience like keeping a checkbook and having a business where they could, understand inventory and shipping and all this. I don't even know if you probably know about this, but it was you can actually contact your representative in Washington, D.C. and request a flag for a particular day. So you could say, hey, whoever your congressman or woman is, and say, hey, I would like a flag on May 29th to you to raise the flag up on the Capitol building, and it's the official flag of the United States of America, because that is the official, the Capitol is this official. They bring it down, they fold it up nice, they put it in a box, they put a certificate, and then they would send it to me. So on that day, May 29th, was the official flag of the United States of America. So I, talking to my kids, were like, okay, let's do like 5 flags a day, which is a lot of upfront money. And so every day they would put up 5 flags, put a certificate, sign it, stamp it, and then mail me the flags every 2 weeks. I'm getting new flags. And I just stored them for, 2003, 2004, 2005. We're talking a lot of flags now, 2006. Some special days I would get like 4th of July, I would get more. So then I think we had 4.5 years. I went on eBay and said, put on, so the flags at the time were costing me $9 a piece. Not bad, $9 a piece.
Right.
And so I went on eBay and we had different catches, but hey, did your grandfather retire on a certain date? Did you have a son born on this certain date? Was it a birthday? Was it a wedding? Was it an anniversary? You could buy the official flag of the United States with a certificate signed by my congressman, or at the time it was actually a woman at one point, Sumar, but and then it changed to a man, and then people were buying them for $100. That's
Wow.
a pretty good darn return.
That
And then,
is.
then I would charge them shipping on it. And so we were literally making like $90 for each one. And we shipped the way we shipped it, the packaging was free from UPS. No, from US, from the Postal Service. It's one of them like Kevlar bags, whatever they are.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Teflon, I think you put it in there.
Yeah.
So it was free, and the shipping was paid by the buyer, and we were selling them like this. And then finally, someone sent me an email and said, "What flags do you have?" And I sent them my spreadsheet, and they bought every flag I had.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was pretty
Wonder what they
good.
did. Yeah. I wonder
So
what they
that's one
did.
of the small businesses, and my kids were all into that, helping to stuff the envelopes and making sure the orders and everything. It was a good learning session and training session for my kids. But I've always been in the businesses. I bought several um, like website companies. I bought some domain names. You remember back in the day there were domain names. I sold one domain name for $18,000.
Oh,
And I
wow.
bought it from someone for like $300. And I sat on it for a year because um, it, I was going to name one of my companies this, but I decided not to. So I bought it for 300 bucks.
Oh,
And I
okay.
didn't. And I ended up selling it for $18,000. But another company is more recently is Sun Oven International, the solar appliance.
Yeah.
That company should have been shut down probably 5 years before I stepped in and looked at the books but I literally we purchased that company and I traveled to Chicago for a year, right before and during COVID, and they had like $750,000 in debt, and within 14 months we had the debt down to manageable about 60,000, which was just ongoing debt anyway, normal business debt,
Yeah.
and just totally saved the company, which that product is one that should have been saved anyway. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's kind of, I do strange, weird things and love it. I have fun. I love business. You know, I always tell people, I got two bachelor's degrees. I got one, a business management degree that I got while I was in the Air Force. And then I thought I wanted to be a history education teacher. So I went back to school and got my history education. And I remember going to a job fair at a bank. And so a history teacher at that time was making $18,600. You could get a bonus of like $1,000 at the time. And I went to a job fair at a bank here in Charlotte, called First Union, and they offered me 39,000 to be a system admin. Yeah, I never taught in my life in a school. I went the
Wow.
technology route, so but yeah, so I'm not a squirrel guy, but I do when I do something, I like to not be the best, but I like to know what's going on fully.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely see some connections from, you know, even your past, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to ask you some of these questions to kind of really dig deep because, I'm
Mhm.
sure people have like, man, you've got some unique things that you have started or that people are joining your courses and watching YouTube videos and everything else. But you're seeing, like I'm seeing the connection of like how this all connected to even why you started businesses. How did you get into these things? Why you're not afraid to tackle those things. But even right now, I'm looking your background. Some
Mhm.
people may be listening to this, but while we're doing this over Zoom, you have a background that says Privacy and Freedom Podcast.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things I wanted to really start to dig deep into. I'm going to bring back some questions, but to make some connections. But that right there, tell us like why did you get this started? What made you start this podcast? How did this all come? So we can start to see that and make these connections.
Well, I have an online education company and I teach classes. One of them is privacy and security class where I teach people to literally disappear on the internet. You can buy things, get things shipped, um, and just disappear on all your shopping and social media, everything on the internet by, creating aliases and having alternate phone numbers. And so I teach people that in one of my classes. I also teach people on entrepreneurship, how to create a business and get out of the system. So right now, one of the examples I do in my class there is if I remember right, if my numbers are right, there are 1.4 million nurses in the United States. So that means every nurse is in a rat race. They're all getting paid the same. Time and experience gives them all a pay raise. There's not one nurse that's going to go from 70,000 to 200,000 and make it big. It just doesn't happen. So they're all at different levels, and time and experience adjust their pay as they go through life. So they're not getting ahead ever of 1.4 million nurses. They can't. That's their field. So people are in a rat race when they work for someone else. So I always try to encourage people to create a home-based business. I've sold four of my home-based businesses. And to create your own home-based business, what does it do? Sure, it brings in extra income. Yes, that is great extra income. Who would complain about that? Maybe taking your hobbies and making extra income. Then it also saves you money, 20 to 28% of all your income, you could probably save and pay less taxes. So if you like money, it's good to make more money and it's good to give less money away to the government. And so owning a home-based business allows you to deduct things you normally couldn't deduct. I can deduct my cell phone. Most people can't. People with a W-2 cannot deduct their cell phone. If they have a W-2 and a home-based business, now they can deduct their cell phone. And so, and when I always say, let's get out of the system. And the system, when it comes to um, is relying on the government, relying on another company. Let's rely on yourself. So everything I do, if you put it together on a like a wagon wheel, it's all about being self-sufficient, taking care of yourself, taking care of your own people, and not relying on others. So when it comes to home-based business, make your own money. You know, most people right now have 40, 50% equity in their homes because their home prices have gone up. It's going down a little bit now, going down. But they could literally sell that, be completely out of debt, go buy a small home with some little land, and all of a sudden be out of debt. And I show this example. A friend of mine sold his home, made 500 and some $1,000 selling his home because of equity he had and the value of his house. And he bought an 11-acre plat in East Tennessee, and now he's doing consulting on the internet. He's his own boss. He's got a home-based business. He's growing his own food and he's out of the system. He can control his own income, meaning if he makes too much, he can have more expenses. And people are like, what? Yeah. Or let's say he knows he's gonna make too much if he brings on another client. Maybe he chooses not to bring on that other client that year because he's making 60,000 with his wife and kids, which they don't need a lot. They're out of debt. And all of a sudden they don't go up in the next tax bracket and they may pay zero taxes. Where if they brought in that other new client, they might have paid, $4,000, $8,000 in taxes. And so that's kind of getting out of the system, looking at the system, being able to control it. Same when it comes to privacy and security. Everything you do right now is being recorded. Everything. Right now we have Republicans and Democrats. In 20 years, what are we going to have? Could it be a government that looks to see and use things against you by the knowledge they have? So let me just go. Every email you write, unless you use a secure email, which 95% of the world doesn't do, a secure email, every phone call you make, every text message you make, everything you do on your computer, every keystroke, every mouse movement, every bank. So you take your debit card and you go buy things. You buy things with your credit card, your debit card. Everything you buy with that, everything is being recorded and being sold to the government. And we know that. And now, don't think I'm crazy. When Edward Snowden leaked all this information, we found out about a project called Prism Project, where the government is buying that information on everyone in the United States and they're storing it. Why? So get out of the system. When I buy things online, I'm totally anonymous, cannot be tracked. Now, if the government was searching for me personally, they could track me, but they don't. They just do the mass surveillance. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for my interview that Travis, my friend, did of me to help you guys get to know me better. So make sure you join our next podcast, where part two, where you can finish the interview. And hey, thanks for listening. Take care.
The Privacy and Freedom Podcast. Our wisdom's here. It's meant to last. We're diving deep. We're stepping bold. It's the brighter future will unfold.